Good morning, dear children. Yes, so let us continue with the next topic where we left in the previous class. So, we saw in the previous class about the emerging of the medieval period, especially in India, and the clans, the group which was the most powerful group among us during the medieval period, and from where did those group originate. Okay, plus we also saw the most important political events which took place during those days, the spiritual sphere, okay, the changes in terms of the spiritual context, and also the cultural diversities, the what do you call the flourishing trade, and the introduction of the systematic assessment of this various land revenue system, right? So these are some of the things which we have discussed in the previous class. So today let us see the main key changes that took place over thousands of years ago. All right, page number 130, right inside on top. Historians use different types of sources to learn about the past depending on the period of their study and the nature of their investigation. Sources such as coins, inscriptions, paintings, architectural remains, and textual records serve as the link to the past. Medieval Indian history has left behind a rich legacy of archaeological and literary sources which help us reconstruct the history of the period. Underline that. The last sentence, medieval Indian history has left behind a rich legacy of archaeological and literary sources that help us reconstruct the history of India. All right. Basically, historians, those study about the past, now they have different type of sources from where they gather information, okay, about the past, or they learn about the past, okay, depending upon that particular era about which they want to learn. Now these sources, it depend upon, it has got its various nature, okay, the nature, like some of the sources, like you can say coins as coins, even there are many lots of information which can be derived from old days, from the ancient days, coins, from the paintings, from the textual record, okay, and many more such. So whatever these sources are there from where the historian derives information, or they get to know about the past, all these sources can be categorized into two groups. One is called the archaeological sources, and the other one is called the literary sources. Now, archaeological sources such as coins, inscriptions, or you can say monuments, buildings, painting, sculpture, okay, those are called archaeological sources, which are basically excavated from the earth, unearthed from the earth, and get piece of, and which gives a piece of information, whatever information it is. That all those things comes under archaeological sources. So first we will see archaeological sources, we will deal with it, and then next we will go to the literary sources. How does these two different categories help us or provide information? Let's see. Archaeological sources. Archaeology is the study of history through the material remains of human life. As I told you, it's excavated, it's unearthed sources which gives us information, right? So archaeological sources may include monuments, paintings, sculpture, inscription, and coins. What do you mean by monuments and buildings? Historical monuments and buildings such as palaces, temples, forts, mosques, tomb, clock towers, etc. They help us to reconstruct the past in many ways. So these are underline some of the examples of monuments and building: palaces, temples, forts, mosque, tomb, clock tower. All right. So these are some of the monuments and buildings, okay, which comes under archaeological sources and gives us a piece of information about those days. Now, to begin with, these buildings reveal the architectural style and cultural influences of the period. Please underline. Point number one, what do we get to learn from this monuments and building? First of all, the architectural style. Secondly, the culture. Now see, generally, if you look at if you go to this, what you call, the remote areas, the rural areas of our state, okay, or of our country, Today also you will find in some of the villages, no matter even if we live in 21st, no, you don't have to go to any other places. Let me give you the example of Assam. In Guwahati itself, there are some houses, okay, some old traditional houses which was built around 50, 60, 70 years ago, and still it is the way it was built. So by looking at the house, the type of infrastructure, or the size of the rooms or the way it was constructed, it gives us a picture, image of those days society, when the day when it was built, be it 6 7 decades ago. Okay, so that is what this point is saying, that by looking at these monuments and buildings, we get to know first of all the architectural style. Next, we also come to know the culture which influence during that particular period, because depending upon the influence of the culture, this house was built, or this monument, this palace, this building was being constructed, right? Next, the famous monuments of the medieval period include the Humayun's tomb, Qutub Minar, mosques such as Kuwaitul Islam and Jama Masjid, Red Fort in Delhi and Agra, Taj Mahal, what is that? Hosaleswara Temple. So these are some of the famous monuments of the medieval period. Medieval period, I asked you to mark in the very beginning itself, right in the introduction. That is when between 700 to 1700 CE in India, medieval period of India. So underline this. Some of the famous monuments of the medieval period in India: Humayun's tomb, Qutub Minar, mosques such as Kuwaitul Islam and Jama Masjid, both are mosques, Red Fort in Delhi and Agra, Taj Mahal, Hoysala Temple, etc. Okay, now what does they do? What do we get to know by looking at them? They provide invaluable information regarding the architectural skills of workers, the materials used to construct these monuments, and the mode of transportation in use, besides the culture and the religious belief prevalent during the period under study. All right. So first of all, these monuments, okay, these buildings, these forts, yes, they definitely tell us about the culture, about the society of those days when it was built. But apart from that, some more additional information that we get is that, about the architectural skill. Nowadays, yes, we are very much advanced. We have got various type of tools, equipments, technologies when it comes to construction, okay, by which we can give various shapes and designs. But this thing, medieval period, 1700 to 700 C, yeah, hundreds of years ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, okay, centuries you can say, centuries ago, many centuries ago, from where did they get this technology, this equipment, this what do you call tools, instruments, and all? But today also, if you visit these places, this Jama Masjid, Red Fort, Taj Mahal, Hosaleswar Temple, Kuwaitul Islam, if you visit Humayun's tomb, Qutub Minar, if you visit this place, you see the way it was built, the shape, the design, okay, the way it was being constructed, the infrastructural style. It tells us, we have you ever wondered about those things, that during those days, it when we go, we just look at the beauty, we just what do you call, get fascinated by the beauty, we praise it. But yes, fine, very good, you must. But have you ever wondered, have you ever asked question to yourself, that how was it built during those days, so many centuries ago? What was the skill that they had, or the type of labor? So imagine how skilled they were, how much well trained they were. The best example is this monuments, this palaces, this forts tells us. Plus another thing that we get to know about the from this monuments and buildings is that the material which was used to construct, you may come you I think you might have come across news channels and all. Very often we see this, what do you call, a little bit of some natural calamity. Forget about natural calamity, even without natural calamity, many a times bridges and all, they collapse, right? They collapse, you see. And if there's a little bit of natural calamity, finish, big buildings and all, they all. Recently, a few days back, we had this what do you call, earthquake, right? I think yeah, couple of days back, around 10, 11 days back, something like that, which was a good one. Huge tremor was felt. See, so many buildings, so many houses got destroyed. What about these monumental buildings which were built hundreds and hundreds of years ago? They are still standing the way they were built. What did they use? What was the technology? So that is another question. The material which was used to construct. Plus, how was this materials being transported during those days, such huge materials and all, the mode of transportation that was used. So these are some of the other additional piece of informations which we get apart from the culture, apart from the religious belief and the society of those days. These are some add-on information which we get from the monuments and buildings. Next we have inscriptions. All right, I'll wind up here. Just mark it, page number 130, up till monuments and buildings. Inscriptions we will see in the next class. Just go through the text, that's what is more important. Go through each and every word, okay, each and every line, do not skip, and that's all. All right, watch after your health, study well.